Hello and welcome, my loves, to your May reading. For my Tauruses out there, this is your monthly reading for Taurus. So if you do enjoy this, please do like, subscribe, share, and all that other great stuff. Make sure to hit that notification bell. Otherwise, if this doesn't seem to resonate with you, please do check out the other signs in your chart. Also, check out your moon reading and your love bonus if you haven't had a chance. Otherwise, without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. We are going to kind of do this as a past, present, future type of spread with some clarifiers, of course, and try to get you kind of an overview. Please do keep in mind, gender is neutral. This is just a general reading, and that time is fluid in tarot. So the past may be recent past or long distant past. Current may be ongoing for a bit, and future may be right now coming or down the road. So alrighty, we're going to do this as a past, present, future spread. And let's go ahead and get started here, see what we've got. So it looks like we have here Two of Swords in reverse, okay? So I do feel like this is deliberate. Things that have been going on in your life have been kind of deliberate choices that you've made. I don't feel like it's anything where you've had to make a choice that you've been kind of cornered into or gone into blindfolded. I feel like you've been making some deliberate choices recently in the recent past, okay? So things that you've been kind of choosing as of late are more kind of direct choices. So choices that you, and this may be very different for some of you for what you've come from for a while, because I feel like you guys maybe for a while, and it could be years even, you know, maybe you felt like you were a little bit less in control of the things that you had going on in your life. Things were more happening to you than for you, or that's how it felt to you, or you weren't being able to kind of direct yourself in a way. It was like, you know, you were cornered into making choices, or things were kind of like you had to choose the lesser of two evils sometimes, things like that for you. But I feel like more so you're kind of recently anyway, sometimes some of you maybe very recently, this has just kind of shifted, but you've been able to kind of start making more deliberate decisions, okay? More eyes wide open, more purposeful choices, right? And I see that that's kind of led you to feel like you're on firmer foundation, okay, with this Four of Wands. So I feel like, again, now that you've kind of started to get to you, and some of you, you're like, you know, maybe that's like just barely, or maybe in one regard, but I'm still really on shaky ground, or I still feel like I'm really, you know, kind of up against it, or I feel like I'm still really spinning my wheels. And I can see that, you know, for a lot of you, but still, I feel like if you look at it in hindsight, okay, maybe over the past 6 months, maybe over the past year, again, time is fluid in tarot and you take this as it resonates for you personally, but I do feel like you've made strides. I feel like you've made progress, right? So I feel like you really are working really toward this stronger, firmer, better foundation, because you are doing more deliberate choices. You're having the ability to kind of make more say-so in what you want lately. In the recent past. So let's get another clarifier on that just to kind of clear that up. Yeah, Page of Swords. And I feel like that's, again, that's you. I feel like that's your kind of mental energy there. And the Page of Swords, you know, you're kind of swinging the sword forward, right? But you're looking back, okay? So again, you're kind of looking back, you're kind of seeing, you know, what was I kind of cornered into? What can I kind of change? What can I kind of do? But going forward, you're leading with your sword, right? So again, I do feel like going forward, you're moving in a better direction. You're starting to see that shift. Some of you have already started to kind of, in recent past here, seeing that shift where you're able to start controlling more, okay? Your sword is headed forward in the right direction. You're leading with your sword. You may still be looking back. You may still have a lot of that, you know, pressure. You know, you're not really getting the choices you want to make in relationship or job or whatever. It feels like a lot more is happening to you than you're getting to choose, or, you know, those kinds of things. But I feel like going forward, that is really going to be making an even more obvious shift for you. So you're going to be able to make more of those deliberate choices to strengthen your foundation even further, okay? So maybe make more choices about what you want for your future as far as like job decisions, okay? Not putting up with whatever job you could get, whatever crumbs they're giving you at work, if you feel like you just had to stay there and, you know, choose that. Or relationships, either be alone or be with this person that you may not see as a long-term option, but it's better than nothing. I feel like that's kind of what a lot of you have been doing, is settling for quite a while. And you kind of know it. I feel like you knew it. I feel like you knew you were settling. struggling in a lot of capacities. Maybe not in all capacities, it doesn't necessarily mean maybe you're settling at work, but you're flourishing at, one thing, in a relationship, or vice versa. It's not everything, but I do feel like for a lot of you, you know exactly what area you were kind of really struggling in for quite a while, and it's starting to make that shift where you're making more deliberate choices, and it's going to continue that way better and better. Okay, so coming into the current, we have the Page of Pentacles. So I think as you're continuing to kind of take more control, gain more kind of control and ability to choose and have more opportunities, I feel like that Page of Pentacles is opportunity coming into you. That could be opportunity for relationship abundance. Again, that's an abundance card. Pentacles, it doesn't necessarily have to be involved with, finances and things like that, but a lot of times, of course, it is. So, it could be job opportunities if you've been kind of, again, stagnant in that area, but that's something you've wanted to focus on to get a better foundation, a better financial foundation, to build a home, to do things like that. Those kinds of things you've really been wanting to work on. Those opportunities may be coming into you very, very soon. So again, I do feel like you are moving in that direction. Okay, the next card is the Empress in reverse. And I feel like for a lot of you, that is just kind of something where an Empress is a very, strong, dominant, maternal, figure. But again, it's also something where a lot of times they've come out of something where they feel strong, dominant, abundant, can rest on their laurels, kind of watch the growth around them. And I feel like you're not there yet. Okay, so in this particular position, I feel like the reason that it's reversed is not because it's a negative thing, not because it's a bad thing. It's just that it's almost like a you're not ready thing. It's almost like you are in an active phase, right? You're in a phase where you are embracing any of those opportunities coming in, and you're ready to take charge, move forward, try to not sit and watch things grow around you. You're ready to actively get out there and garden, right? Metaphorically, of course. So get that family, get that relationship, get that job, get that house, get that whatever goal you have set for yourself, get it, go for it. So it's kind of in reverse of someone who would just be kind of sitting back and enjoying the fruits of their labor, because maybe you really haven't had an opportunity until now. So while you're striking while the iron's hot, that's what I feel like, okay, with that. So let's get another one here. All right, Four of Cups. So this is something where, again, you're not trying to hear something. And for me, I just absolutely have the feeling that with this is somebody trying to come back into you, okay? And a lot of you, again, I feel like this is something where you haven't had a lot of good feelings in the past here, where you've been able to choose what you really wanted. You've settled, okay? Or you've kind of been cornered into something, stuck in a relationship. Maybe you just couldn't get out of it, or you're just like, I don't want the friction and the fighting and all that to get out of it right now. I've got too much on my plate, too much to worry about. I'll just let it flow because it's path of least resistance kind of situation. But as you're starting to develop your strength, as you're starting to get opportunities, as you're starting to be able to kind of make your own choices, make your own path, all these things are starting to come together, change, go into your favor. I feel like someone's coming back, okay? This is giving me the vibe that someone's coming back to you. They're going to try to, make amends, apologize, come back into your life. I do feel like it's going to be somebody who, again, you knew wasn't right. You knew you were settling, right? You knew you were settling for them. And it's not necessarily to say that they were an awful person or a bad person. They just weren't the right person for you, and maybe you were just going with the flow, right? Not necessarily. And they could very well have been a bad person too. Either way, it's 6 one way, half a dozen another. It's something that, I do get the feeling distinctly though, that it is somebody that you've already had around you, you've already been involved with, and they are trying to come back to you. So they're hoping to reconcile, they're hoping to come back in your life. And I just see that you are at a place where you are really moving forward. You're doing better, okay, with yourself, with your choices. Your opportunities are getting more plentiful and abundant. And so I don't feel like you have interest in hearing any of that. So that's actually a really good step, right? Because you're no longer choosing to settle for anything or anyone, okay? And Queen of Wands in reverse. Again, I feel like this is just a situation where, you're fiery, hot energy, okay? You have that queenly energy, but at this point, your Queen of Wands energy is kind of drained. I mean, I feel like you're putting forth all this energy at this point to kind of survey, really, okay? What you're trying to do is you're trying to survey, you're trying to decide what are your best options, what do you want to do, where do you want to go from here, how do you make these things happen, you know, because it's kind of a lot at once. Again, for you, many of you, I'm getting this vibe that, you know, it's been a long time coming. For a long time, you've kind of just been status quo, you know, same old job, same old relationship, or same old lack of relationship, or same old, you know, lack of job, or same old whatever, but it's been, you know, just day in, day out, status quo, same old monotonous thing. And so now, while you have this energy and you've got it harnessed, you're still at that point where you're kind of keeping it bottled up, right? Because at this point, you're a little bit unsure, I feel like, for many of you, like what to do with it all. You know who not to let back in with this, you know, Four of Cups. I feel like you know who you don't want back in. But a lot of you, I get that distinct impression that you don't know exactly what you want to do yet. You know, so you may have these opportunities. You may have this Page of Pentacles coming in and saying, hey, you know, we've got this opportunity for you, or that opportunity for you. And maybe, you know, part of it is that you have choices. And with that queenly, you know, type of position, that's a very, you know, that's a very strong position, but it's also somebody who has to make good decisions. As a queen, you have to make decisions for your people, decisions for your people could be your friends, your family, whomever's affected by your choices, right? So you have to be able to kind of weigh everything out, think about how everything would affect other people, not just yourself, before you kind of unleash any choices, before you unleash all of that, you know, wands energy, and start going gung-ho at your opportunities, right? So I kind of feel like that's why you have the Queen of Wands energy there, but it's in reverse at this point solely because you're kind of restraining it. I feel like you're just holding it back right now for some reason. And again, I think it's because you're just kind of hesitant to really, one, jump to anything, and two, you don't want to get back, you definitely don't want to fall back in any cycles, old cycles, okay? Where you're kind of like, I don't want to go back to picking a, you know, a job that I'm going to be stuck in again, and it's just the same thing over again someplace else, or another relationship that's the wrong one and I'm just stuck in it again. So I'd really rather take my time, you know, not wield my wand and just go for it, but take my time, really think it through first. So, and I actually think that's really well advised for you. So I think that's actually a really good move for you. Okay. So going forward into the future, and again, depending on where you are in this process, time is fluid in tarot, so that'll kind of give you an idea of when the future might start in this regard. But I do see that you have the Seven of Wands in reverse. Okay, so Seven of Wands is kind of like, you know, you're chugging away and you need to shift, you know, directions. But I feel like this is letting me know that you've kind of already made peace with that. This is where you kind of finally decide what you're going to do. So here, the Queen of Wands, you're in reverse, Queen of Wands, because you really want to be contemplative. It's almost in a way like an intentional hangman type of thought process, but it's more like, I don't want to unleash all of my Queen of Wands you know, tricks up my sleeve or anything like that yet, until I decide exactly what is best for me and my subjects. And your subjects are your friends, your family, your kids, your whomever, you know, relies on you, counts on you, depends on you, needs you, right? So I feel like by the time you get to this step, you know, starting into the future here, once you've, you know, basically surveyed the situation and made that decision, I do feel like you're going to make the shift, okay, completely away from where you've been in the past. Stagnation, you know, monotony, boredom, whatever, maybe really negativity. Some of you may have come out of a really toxic work environment or a toxic relationship, but you're putting all that really behind you, okay? And I see that this is something where you are making, you know, a stride movement forward kind of thing. And the very next card is the Queen of Pentacles. So I feel like, again, this is where you're really starting to get your flow, right? So you were kind of withholding that Wands energy, Queen of Wands. You had that queenly energy. We knew that. We saw that. But you were kind of withholding it, right? You weren't ready to unleash that yet. But now here you've decided what direction to take, okay? So, you know, this Seven of Wands is kind of like, I know I need to change, but I'm plugging away and I'm struggling. But with it being in reverse, I feel like it's like, you know what? No, I don't need to struggle away anymore. I don't need to try to make a decision. I know what I need to do. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm doing it, right? And it's paying off, because now you're harnessing that queen of energy, queenly energy, in a positive and very abundant way with that pentacles, okay? So whatever you're doing, whatever you decided to do, whatever, while you were kind of withholding that energy, letting it build, letting it grow, develop, you were thinking, planning, right? All of these things, doing what you needed to do, making, networking, whatever, connections, what have you. I think you were doing something very savvy, okay? Because it's going to pay off with this Queen of Pentacles energy, right? So let's get another clarifier on that as well. All right, so we have the Moon in reverse, and I feel like that's clarity, okay? I feel like you're coming out of this with much more clarity. You know what you're gonna do, right? We've decided that. You put the thought over here, okay? Present time. You put it all in here, you harness that Queen of Wands energy, but you kind of used it internally rather than, you know, letting it out to really, you know, think it through. And at this point, that's giving you such a nice amount of clarity that the moon is in reverse, okay? Which, you know, the moon can be like shrouded darkness. It can kind of be like, you know, sometimes, you know, anxiety laden kind of confusion, or, you know, you don't know what to do. But with this case, I'm feeling like, you know, you absolutely know what to do. It's clarity for you. This is, you are moving forward in Queen of Pentacles fashion. You've made all of the right choices at this point, so far from where you were back here. So you've really started to, you know, get your plan, your path, okay, in its right direction. So let's go ahead and get another one here. Okay, so 10 of Swords in reverse, right? So again, there's probably people in your past, and I see that with this Four of Cups over here right now, okay? I see that Four of Cups, that somebody who's not great for you, wasn't great for you, will try to come back in, right? And this is a 10 of Swords in reverse, right? Like stabbing in the back, somebody who did you wrong, somebody who did you dirty, somebody who treated you awful, that kind of stuff, okay? But it's in reverse. So again, I feel like you are absolutely casting off any of that kind of thing. This is like almost like a healing process for you. You are clear in what's happened to you. You're able to see clearly now. You may have been, you know, shrouded here. A lot of times when you are with someone, or you're in a situation and you're trying to make the best of it, or you're trying to just suffer through it, or you're trying to deal with it, or to yourself legitimize it, a lot of times what you'll do, right, is what do? You kind of say, okay, so, you know, I can see this is, you know, that could be a red flag, but no, you kind of talk it away, right? You like explain it away to yourself, right? But this here is like, no, I see clearly what happened to me. I know who this happened to, who did this to me. They're not going to do this to me anymore. Never again am I going to let this happen, right? So these people, just so they're unaware, on notice, I know who you are. I know everything now that I see it clearly from, you know, in hindsight's 2020, right? Hindsight's 2020, and I can see it clearly. It's not happening to me again. I'm seeing clearer than I ever have, and I'm moving forward in a way that's only going to be positive with positive people, right? This is not happening to me again. And we got a jumper here. And the Hermit phase. And I think the Hermit phase for you is, you know, realistically kind of the final step here, because for many of you, the Hermit phase is like it's where you're bringing together all of your knowledge, okay? And you're able to kind of, the Hermit is able to be peaceful with themselves, right? So I think for a lot of you, you know, you've kind of struggled and dealt with people you didn't want to, okay? For a lot of you, work people you didn't want to, relationships you didn't want to. You went through a process, okay? You had to harness your inner wand here as a Queen of Wands. Decide what you could deal with, couldn't deal with, what you should deal with, shouldn't deal with. Made the changes, okay? Harnessed your energy to become more powerful, see things more clearly, understand who's good, who's bad, and never let them do that again. And so for many of you, you are now much clearer with your knowledge, like the hermit. The hermit is very knowledgeable. They are older, wiser. These are things, you're older and wiser by living through this, right? And they're fine by doing things on their own and not relying on spending time with other people that are not good for them. Okay, so I think the hermit phase for you is almost like your triumph, right? I feel like that's like your triumph. That's not to say that, you know, you need to withdraw, not be around people. And I don't think that's what you think either. And I don't think that's what you'll do either. I just think that you know that you no longer will ever need to rely on anybody. You'll choose who you want to be with rather than making decisions based on what you feel like you need to have. So again, it'll all start here with where you kind of are changing that shift from where you were having to make decisions you felt like you were kind of forced into making to being able to make decisions that are more intentional, more based on what you want, more based on what you enjoy, plan for your path. Okay, and again, this is the same thing with the hermit. The hermit is fine with being alone, but they can also, you know, come guide themselves out with their lantern, which can be the star or the sun in here, you know, and lead themselves out and share their wisdom with the world if they want to, but they're very particular in whom they share it with, right? So again, I think that's kind of where you are with that. So let's get a few clarifier cards on this. I'm going to pull 3 of these psychic deck cards for you, okay? 1 on each row, and see if that kind of helps us get some information about, you know, where we might need to be on these or what you might want to do, any sort of enlightenment on those for you. Alrighty, 1, 2, and 3. Let's see what these have to say for you. Okay, so spiritual union. And I feel like the spiritual union, again, I do feel like with this is something where you had a union with, you know, either, you know, someone that you were with or someone that you know, a workplace. It could be a union with actual, you know, a workplace or a situation or a thing, okay? And, you know, because it wasn't fulfilling, I do feel like this is where you're starting to make that transition, looking for something that is more spiritually fulfilling, okay? So again, I feel like when you're starting to make that switch over to make more actual, you know, choices that are actually something that is your deliberate choice, not something you feel like you're stuck in or you had to deal with or you had to, you know, endure, or, you know, you're cornered to make, or you're picking the lesser of two evils. It's something that you are able to feel like, okay, I am able to make choices that are going to lead me to a more spiritually happy, abundant type of union, okay, whether it be in business or relationships, okay? So I feel like that's where you start that path. And with that Page of Swords, for sure, I feel like you're looking back, remembering what it was like to not have those choices, and you're swinging your sword forward, remembering that and thinking what it's going to be like when you have a better, okay, spiritual union. So we have disconnect and boredom. And I do feel like this is something that in the current that you will possibly have with, again, the person that's going to try to come back with you. I do feel like this is really referencing that 4 of Cups in this row a lot, is the disconnect and boredom, because I feel like somebody is going to try to come back to you, and, you know, they are going to be somebody that you're just going to be like, I want to disconnect from that person. I don't want to be part of that. That's not what I want anymore. But also this Queen of Wands energy in reverse. I do feel like for some of you who are kind of excited to take off with it, I feel like, you know, you're going to want to kind of pull back and analyze the situation. And for some of you, you're going to feel a little bit like you're bored while you're doing that, but you know that it's in your best interest, so you're going to do it anyway. But I think a lot of you will be like ready to go, gung-ho, but at the same time, you're kind of like, okay, but again, you're going to be talking yourself down a little bit. Again, I don't want to get myself back in that situation. Do I really want to go through that again? I don't want to get right back with the crappy job or the crappy, significant other or whatever. So let me really analyze all aspects of my opportunities here. So I think there'll be a little bit of disconnect and boredom there, maybe even internally for a while you're kind of weighing things out. But I think you will really know in your gut, and your intuition will tell you, I need to really think this through, and you will do so. And then the ending card here for your future role here is balance. And I think that's absolutely what you're going to gain. You're going to gain balance and perspective, because you're going to be able to see clearly. You're going to be able to know who's good and who's bad, balance it out between, who you want around you and who you don't, who you can trust and who you can't, what your path is and what it's not. And again, with the people who've stabbed you in the back, you're going to be able to know whether you're going to let somebody in your life or not, based on being able to see clearly now. And the Hermit card is truly for you personally. I feel like this is reading in no other way but balance. I feel like this is the balance of, I can take it or I can leave it. I don't need anyone. I may want them, but I don't necessarily need them anymore. And I know that now. I have all this information and knowledge and all of that. I'm older and wiser now, and I may choose to share that with people, and I may not. But, again, it's all a matter of a balancing act to protect yourself, to move forward on your path, and to get where you want to go. So I think this is perfect. It's completely restoring your own balance to your life. And again, it's your balance to your life, which is the big kind of theme here, because where you started back here, it was realistically, you were really kind of, again, I feel like you've come from a place for a long time where you don't feel like life's been happening because of you or, for you, but more kind of to you. Like you've kind of been like, okay, I'll just take whatever's thrown at me and try to figure out how to deal with it, because that's kind of how I am. I don't feel like I'm in a driver's seat, but I feel like this is restoring the balance where you are in the driver's seat. And if you look at this card, you see the tools. It's almost like a magician. They've got the tools there to, that's putting the tools back in your hand so that you can be in the driver's seat again. I'm going to pull out 3 moon cards here of the moon deck and kind of close it out for you with these as well. See if we can get some advice out of these for you. All right, so focus, okay? So Spirit is telling you that you need to really, really focus, okay? While you're trying to make these decisions, move towards that more intentional life that you want to lead, while you're looking back at how it's been and you're swinging that sword forward to choose your path, focus on what it is that you want for your path. Manifest that, okay? Because if you don't have, if you don't have something that you're starting to kind of put in line and in mind, what are you really working towards? You can't start building a foundation if you don't have a bottom layer, right? You need, if you don't know where you want to build the house, you can't really start building it, right? So focus, you have to have good focus, right? Okay. The second row is action. And again, I do feel like this is where you really do start putting things into action in a mental sense, because I do feel like the opportunities start coming into you with that Page of Pentacles rather. I feel like they start coming into you. I feel like you start shutting out people that you know are bad for you. Okay, you're taking those actions with that 4 of Cups. I feel like the Empress in reverse is you actually being active and aggressive with trying to really, keep your finger on the pulse, decide what it is that's good for you, bad for you, going to get you where you want to go, what you want. And you're being active in, taking action and thinking about, with this Queen of Wands energy, being, it's actually an action. It's almost the most important action is to really take a plan, a thought process, really put it into place to think, what is it I really want to do with my life? And then take the action on it. So all of these are like different types of action, some mental, some physical, some, offertory emotional actions, all these things, but it's all about starting that action to make that shift, to move forward in a positive way, okay? And the last one is the unexpected. And again, I do think with this one, I think that it's unexpected that you will have these plans that you will be able to see so clearly. Okay, I think for you, one of the things that's going to be the most unexpected here is how much you learn about yourself. And I think it all starts here with this Queen of Wands in reverse, where you're kind of talking to yourself, you know, kind of convincing yourself, I need to not jump at things. I need to, because I don't want to go down that path again. And then you kind of open yourself up over here with that, you know, that Queen of Pentacles, yes. And that the Moon in reverse, where things start to come very clear, where you start to see that 10 of Swords in reverse. So you are starting to see people for what they were. You know, anybody who stabbed you in the back, where you say, never again. I will not let anybody come at me like that again. Where you start seeing things like that, and where you decide as this Hermit that, you know, you are really back in a balance, back in the driver's seat, and that you are older, wiser, and can take it or leave it, right? So I feel like that is very unexpected to not only yourself, but to those around you, because for a very long time, they have seen you kind of be in a passive state. And now you are in a very dominant leadership type of state for your own life. And so I think it's a whole different vibe for you. It's a whole different frequency for you than you've had for a while, as far as controlling of your life, your sovereignty, if you will. So I do think everything is going to be moving in a very, very positive direction for you. So I'm very happy for you, and I hope that this all does work out. If you have any other issues with this, or it doesn't seem to sit well with you, check out the other signs in your chart that may sit with you a little bit better or resonate better. Otherwise, do take what resonates and toss the rest, and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I hope to see you back later this week for your weekly readings. Bye.